If someone can hold space for me, I'll probably fall in love right away. Have you ever experienced anyone holding space for you? Gosh, let me tell you, that warmth, that sense of safety, that depth of trust, and that deep connection you feel, who wouldn't fall in love with that? But I'll be honest, so far, I've only experienced that with my coaches. But seriously though, if there's one thing you can do to improve your relationship with your loved ones, I'd say work on how to hold space for them. But what does holding space even mean? I'll admit I'd never heard of this phrase until I got into the coaching world. But I actually did it unintentionally many times before without realizing it. So, let me just share an example with you. When my kids were little, they inevitably had moments when they would act out, cry hysterically for no obvious reasons, and nothing could calm or soothe them. That was when I would give up on trying to help. I would just hold them tight in my arms, either gently pet them or rock them, say nothing, and just sit there with them until their emotions pass. Little did I know back then that what I was doing was holding space for them. Holding space refers to being fully present for someone, physically, mentally, and emotionally, without judgment. It's when we say, I'm there for you, especially when people you care about are going through a hard time. But here's the key. When we hold space for someone, we're not trying to offer any advice or solutions, nor are we trying to verbally comfort them. We're not jumping in to try to save them. We're simply there. Sounds easy enough, doesn't it? Not at all. Why? Not only because many of us are normally busy thinking of a response when we listen, but also when we see our loved ones struggle or suffer, we naturally want to ease their pain. On top of that, catching others' emotions, especially strong negative emotions, can often stir up our own strong emotions. I wasn't allowed to cry growing up. Now that I think about it, my parents never explicitly told my siblings and me not to cry. But somehow it was just an unspoken rule in my family. Crying was considered a sign of weakness. It wasn't until I became a parent myself that I realized that my mother couldn't hold space for us. She didn't know how to manage strong emotions, so she simply shut them down. I remember when my daughter was going through a hard time when she was about 6 or so, and my mother happened to be visiting and staying with us. One day she made a comment. How come you guys were not this difficult when you were little? I was speechless and quite frankly, almost wanted to cry. You see, we were easy because we were not allowed to be difficult. Get it? Our emotions can be really messy sometimes, and it's never easy to be a container, aka holding space for others' emotional needs. When someone tries to share their feelings with us, especially if it sounds remotely like blames or criticism, we could get defensive, which often results in us defending ourselves rather than holding space for them. In hindsight, towards the end of my marriage, my ex husband and I would follow the same pattern every time we fought. I'd feel hurt and try to articulate how I felt. Again, in hindsight, not in an effective way, but more like criticizing. And he would get defensive and point out that, but that's just not fact. And I would then fight back. I'm not talking about fact. I'm talking about how I feel. And my feelings are my fact. And it just went on and on and on until one of us gave up on communicating. Had one of us, or better yet, both of us, learned how to hold space, I wouldn't say the marriage could be saved, but at least the communications would feel much less like attacks. Now, if you're like me, when you don't have anyone to hold space for you, unless you hire a coach or a therapist, that is, you want to learn how to hold space for yourself. And how do you do that? Let me share with you another example of my experience first. So, I experienced massive waves of sadness the other day. I woke up feeling fine. I had a meeting, did some work, then ate a late breakfast. And that was when my sadness hit me, for no obvious reasons. It hit me hard and strong. It grabbed my chest tightly, and I felt like I was drowning in its waves. I was being suffocated. When all this occurred, my brain didn't stop working. I was actually thinking hard. What's happening? Why am I suddenly so sad? What am I forgetting or ignoring? I thought of recent events and I was thinking maybe they had a much stronger impact on me than I was aware of. I was really trying to make sense of this sadness and was already busy thinking about what I could do to get rid of this feeling. But then I decided to let go of all my thinking. I sat there quietly, letting myself drift away with the waves, letting my sadness consume me, and letting myself feel the sensation of tears running down my cheeks. And slowly, the waves started to subside. Now, I normally would turn to my journal when I have big feelings that I need to process. But that time, I didn't feel the need. My sadness arose, I held space for it, then it turned into the sound of calm ocean waves in the background. And I felt much, much lighter. When you're going through something big or challenging, you can hold space for yourself by tapping into self compassion, self love, and by simply be. Stay warm and compassionate towards ourselves when we suffer, especially when we feel lost or lack of love or having low self esteem. Instead of suppressing our pain or taking it out on someone, practice holding space for all your emotions without any judgment. Be with all your emotions. Stay mindful and feel your emotions with your full attention. And remind yourself that all human experience suffers. Be with your emotions until they pass. If you've already had someone like that in your life, congratulations. Don't ever let them go, okay? But if not, I highly recommend that you and your partner really take the time to communicate about it and start practicing holding space for each other. Finally, I'll leave you with this beautiful quote. Thank you so much for watching. I know my channel is still very new, and I truly appreciate you stopping by and watching my videos. Feel free to leave a comment below and let me know how I can be of any help so you can enjoy your life more and suffer less.